I represent an area in Michigan, however, that has a very large population of folks from the Middle East and from North Africa. Mr. Thompson, I sent a letter to you earlier this year with a couple of my colleagues talking about that issue and the fact that that classification is not part of the census. And as you know, it can be problematic because if you're not on the census, you don't have access to some voting rights protections, including access to language ballots in your home language to be able to vote and exercise that right. Also, it's difficult for researchers if we don't have that type of census information to understand potential health disparities that may exist in the Middle Eastern population in Michigan and other places around the country, as well as employment discrimination. I mean, a whole host of things that we need to look into, and this would provide accurate data. My understanding is that you are going to test that category for Middle Eastern descent as well as North African. I appreciate your prompt response to our letter a ways back, but I want to take this opportunity to get an update from you as to where you are. I know in the letter that when you responded to my letter, you mentioned you were going to be reaching out to stakeholders in the spring and consult with community leaders within that community to get some assessment as to how you would proceed. Could you give me an update, please, on where we stand on that and how you look to proceed?
Certainly. So we've been having ongoing discussions with various members of the Middle Eastern and North African community, and we are testing, including that categorization as part of our race and ethnic questions. And that test will take place this fall. We are having, I think what was referred to, we are looking forward to having an expert meeting of various Middle Eastern and North African scholars this spring so that we can really come up with a definition, if you will, of Middle Eastern and North African that everyone agrees to. So we can use that as part of how we explain it when we conduct the census. So we're on track.
Well, that's good to hear. I appreciate that. Have you heard from any other Americans or other organizations about a lack of representation in the census? Is this unique to the Middle Eastern community, or are there others that you're working on?
In terms of the
classification
is the Middle Eastern and North African. We've heard from other constituents on other aspects of the question, but for inclusion, it's been basically the Middle Eastern and North African.
So that's where your focus is going to be on this going forward?
Yes.
Great. I have many constituents, as you can imagine, given the large size of our community in Michigan, that are very passionate about this, and I understand that you've received thousands of inquiries from the community. Have you been responding directly, or how can I respond to my constituents as to how you are listening to them and the response that they will receive?
So I think what you're referring to is we put out a Federal Register notice that announced our plans for this fall test. And we received well over 1,000 recommendations that we include in that test, the Middle Eastern and North African category. And we are responding via comment to the Federal Register notice to those recommendations that we got.
Okay.
Now we will group them together because many recommendations said the same thing.
Right. So you'll be summarizing that in the registry.
Yes.
And that folks, we could refer to them or refer them to that as well as get back to them. Well, I appreciate that.